I feel like it should be okay for us to experience these roadblocks and for us to have to take a different path because of it. As long as where we end up means that we're happy, we're comfortable, we're like being our best selves, I think that's what matters most.
I think that's what actually to make the leap really like starting over, because I found myself in a place where I was none of those that you mentioned, love. I was not happy. I didn't feel fulfilled, and I just felt like, what a waste of life, what a waste of my life. So I know that I have the power to turn those things around, because in the end of the day, what you believe you become. And I strongly believe that, your mind, it's so powerful and you are capable of anything that you imagine to be. Hello, my beautiful amigas. Welcome back to Amigas Podcast at our favorite hangout place, the Season 2 Kenneth Cobonpue Showroom, where I talk about life, love, growth, and today, apparently, I'm giving up my hosting seat and I'm a little scared.
Well, you shouldn't be, because today, it's my turn to interview you. However, I won't be interviewing you as my mom, but instead as a woman who had to start over again and what it took to make such a huge decision. So, amigas, today's episode is about how to start over, and we will have the pleasure to hear from someone who has done it in a way that inspires so many, including myself as her teen daughter. But before that, let me introduce her in a proper manner. She's a 9-time title holder, beauty queen originally from Brazil that fell in love with the Philippines after she was crowned Miss Earth in 2004. She's a former beauty queen, environmentalist, model turned actress, social influencer, and now a vlogger and podcaster. Mother of one, and best friend to many. Creator, producer, and host of this podcast, the Amigas Podcast, and my mom. Let's give a warm welcome, amigas, to Priscilla Meirelles de Almeida.
Yeah! Woo! It feels weird, my love, to be on the other side of the chair without having a little script and the Amigas Podcast card in my hand. How does it feel for you?
Feels like I'm powerful.
Well, thank you for having me in my own podcast.
Of course, I understand it's such a privilege to be.
Okay, my baby.
I'm joking.
Okay, so what are we gonna be talking about?
Well, we're basically just talking about how it feels and like the process of rebranding yourself. And, sometimes some people kasi feel they're somewhere where they just want to flourish and grow into a new, wonderful human being. But it's also really hard sometimes. So that's just what this podcast is about. And, you have gone through so much. So you could really be an inspiration and are an inspiration to a lot of people. I can't name a number because I'm not good at that.
Thank you. Thank you, love.
I'm just going to be interviewing you on how you grew as a person and the challenges that came with it.
Oh, wow.
And how you overcame them.
Okay, my love. But let's start from the beginning. I guess, coming from Brazil and arriving in the Philippines, somehow for me it was already like a life-changing experience because, I used to be a medical student and I moved to the Philippines, and somehow I felt that it was the first time that I was starting over again. But a lot of things happened while I was in the country. I built a family for myself. I had you, and had so many plans. And unfortunately, everything that I planned did not come out or did not end the way that I wish it did. And that was very heartbreaking for me because I wasn't prepared for that. I don't think anybody's really prepared for the heartaches and challenges that are thrown your way, even as you mature and a full-grown adult. We all have like this thought or this idea of what we want, what we plan things to turn out. Like I do remember that, I had even how many kids I wanted to have, by what age I wanted to get married.
She did not plan me.
Actually, I planned more than one
She
of you.
planned like a whole different family. I was never a part of that picture.
No, but what I mean is, I did want to have like a certain number of kids, which was 2. You're number 1. The second didn't come yet.
Okay.
I don't know if
Yeah,
one day it will. But I mean, I had all this ideal, like this blueprint of my life. You know, along the way, things just didn't turn out the way I was expecting. And that was very heartbreaking for me, especially being in an environment, you know, in a country that's not mine by origin, but that I embrace as mine as I went along the way, having my family far away from me. So it was the more challenging. It did teach me like lessons that I didn't know possible.
You know, that's really like difficult to go through when you're shoved in like a completely different environment. Like I have grown up in the Philippines my entire life. I've never lived anywhere else. So, you know, for me, the Philippines is a very comfortable place to live in because how old am I again? Joke. 14 years living here. So I essentially know everywhere that I've been and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm very comfortable with where I am. But you lived in Brazil, which is an entirely different environment. I've been to Brazil 3 times, I think.
Yes.
Yes, 3 times. You know, it is very different from the Philippines. You know, you're exposed to a lot of different things.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, so I understand that definitely, like, moving here was like difficult for you, definitely, especially being far away. Place you were comfortable with, but the people as well.
Exactly.
I also never had to experience, like, you know, moving to a different country, or actually I've been in the same school my entire life.
Yeah.
So I'm not very used to that, but you had to do that. And
yeah, I think in the beginning, like moving to the Philippines was more exciting because everything was new and I never felt like I was losing something. So that's the first time actually to, you know, repackage myself or becoming someone else. And then the second time around, obviously, I did not embrace it with open arms because this time around I had you already, and the plans I had made originally did not follow through. And I need to adapt to the idea that, you know, perhaps I need to have a plan B for my life. And it was a lot more like scary and somehow even a little bit embarrassing. Because as a full-grown adult, you're supposed to know what's ahead of you. Like as an intelligent woman, you're supposed to know what is ahead of you, and you're supposed to ideally make the right decisions about people, about situations, about a bunch of things that you're supposed to already had figured out. And at the time, I thought I did. It just happened that, unfortunately, everything in life, you're just one of the factors. There is a lot of things that take place and a lot of people that matter, and that also they influence, or let's say they become a big part of the decisions that you make. And the second time around, it was very scary. It was scary because I needed to pick up my pieces and I needed to rebuild myself in a way that I didn't know myself to be before. Because this time around, there is a lot of scars, there is a lot of trauma, I was scared that perhaps I would just be making a fool of myself. But I figured out that not knowing sometimes is better than knowing that your end is not the good end. So I think just like a lot of women out there, I felt that the challenge was more in what I was thinking and making myself to believe of the possibilities and to somehow materialize the things that I wanted to happen in my life, and somehow to compare and to make sure that the things that I did not want to happen in my life would happen. Because if you're not very conscious and very in touch with what is happening around you, the tendency is you become a very passive actor in your own life, where everybody and everything happens and you're just allowing things to happen to you. So I took a different approach where I said, no, I know my worth. I know what I'm good at and what I'm good for, and I'm not just gonna allow the other players to dictate what is good for me, what is not good for me, and how my life will proceed from this point on. It was a whole beginning, but I started from the very end, and that can be very scary.
Oh yeah, I understand that. It's certainly really challenging when stuff doesn't go your way. And to bounce back from that is even more difficult. But honestly, I feel like that expectation that society has, especially adults, to have it all figured out, is a little bit heavy, you know? When you had me, you were still like relatively young.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
society to expect you to have everything figured out and to have like a plan for, I don't know, 50 years in the future. That's really difficult. And I think if life doesn't go your way, it shouldn't be like, oh man, my life is over. You
Yeah,
know?
I know, right?
You know? I feel like it should be okay for us to experience these roadblocks and for us to have to take a different path because of it. As long as where we end up means that we're happy, we're comfortable, we're like being our best selves, I think that's what matters most.
I think that's what actually to make the leap really like starting over, because I found myself in a place where I was none of those that you mentioned, love. I was not happy. I didn't feel fulfilled, and I just felt like, what a waste of life, what a waste of my life. So I know that I have the power to turn those things around, because in the end of the day, what you believe you become. And I strongly believe that, your mind, it's so powerful and you are capable of anything that you imagine to be. So as a woman, as a mother, as someone that always believe in so many people, I needed for a change to believe in myself in a time that a lot of people did not know that they need to believe on me, because they didn't know what I was going through. I was ashamed of a lot of things. I think that what makes the difference is that when you know that you're in the bottle, there is no way going down anymore. The only way is up. And that's how I felt at the moment. And a lot of people may say that, oh wow, that's a little bit extreme. But a feeling is always a feeling, and it should always be validated. And that's something that I've learned throughout my life, is that if you feel something, it's valid and you should let it out. It doesn't mean that you're going to act out of the feelings, but it means that in order to assess and to understand you and to process things and even to become a better version of yourself, you really need to let yourself feel what you're feeling and learn from that experience. And from that point on, you do the changes, make sure that, you can transition to a person where you're proud of, someone that you can carry for the rest of your life.
You were mentioning that, there was a certain point in your life where you weren't happy with where you were. So like what really about that made you think, okay, I need to start over? Like, okay, this is the moment where I have to rebrand and regrow. What was that moment for you?
The moment for me was when I look at the mirror and I didn't see myself. I couldn't recognize me. Not only the way I looked, but how I felt. Because the Priscilla I knew was someone that would look at the mirror and be proud. And I wasn't proud. I was sad. I was sad and I was broken and I felt betrayed and I felt, I couldn't breathe. And that for me was very, very, very difficult, because that's not Priscilla. So when I reached to that point where I look at myself and I couldn't recognize me, I said, no, I'm not going to allow that to happen. Something needs to change. I need to take my power back, and I need to do the steps that I need to do in order to rebuild myself, in order to get that Priscilla back. The first step, it was really like to disconnect from people that make me feel worthless. So getting away from that people and isolated that people from my life was the first step. The second step was, taking care of myself, loving myself first, taking care of my health, improving the way I look so that when I look at the mirror, I'm proud of what I see. The third step was really like dealing with my emotions and the things that I went through, validating my feelings and telling myself, no, you're not crazy. Everything that you feel, there is a reason, something trigger it. You're a person, you have a heart, you have a good heart. And if you feel that way, it's because something triggered it. And from that point on, the fourth step was, okay, how to deal with all those emotions. Literally okay, who I inspire to be. Of course, I want to get her back, but I want her to be a better version that she was back then. I just really started to surround myself with the things that I think that was worth and that would help me, bring me to that place where I am proud of me. I will be who I need to be so that I can inspire myself and I can inspire others, and that my life can be and I can live the life that I deserve.
That's wonderful. But, and in change, there's always some really difficult or scary moments. So I'm wondering, was there any moment where you were scared or you felt like something was really difficult to do or anything along those lines?
Oh, wow. There's many moments that I panic. I think when I realized that I need to completely get out of my comfort zone, that was the scariest moment. Because there is a tendency that when you're comfortable, you do not welcome change. And that's just natural behavior of everybody. When I got to that point and I realized that I need to be uncomfortable to allow change to happen, I was at the moment paralyzed. I didn't move for a while. And I was just trying to sink in all of the things that I knew I need to do before I actually took a step. And aside from that, another very critical moment was when I found myself completely on my own. And I think for a lot of women, especially women that are used to, being a setup where they have like a husband, where they have like a whole system around them, a family that give them safety, realize that you're like on your own and you can just count with you and you only. That's terrifying. Today, I'm still scared, but I'm confident that no matter what happened, I'll be in a better place than I was 2 years ago, than I was 5 years ago. Because I know that whatever happens now and from now on are just the things that I allowed to happen to myself. Because my power is back. I took that power back. And by taking that power back, even if tomorrow I'm just eating, 1 cup of rice, I'm happy because that's by choice. That's not by imposition of a situation, of, a role that I needed to fulfill, of something that other people believe that I need to be. If I eat a cup of rice tomorrow and every meal after that, that's all I eat, I'm happy because I'm gonna be eating that freaking cup of rice like super happy because it's my choice. And I think that's what makes and ignites the difference of your predisposition about the things to come. When you know that's your choice and you have the power to change and you are igniting certain things, it's okay to have a little difficulty. It's okay to be challenged. It's scary, yes, but it's also like liberating in so many ways.
Yeah, that's so true. In order to make life better, a lot of the time it's going to be really difficult or really scary, because sometimes you have to do things that make you uncomfortable, or even things that seem like they're just going to make life harder, but in the long run you're going to find yourself in a much better place. So I think the truth is that everything that you do to improve yourself, almost everything, is going to be really hard, but if you can look back and say, I am in a better place after all of that, that's really what's important.
Yeah, I agree 100%, my love.
Just to go back on that a little bit, is there any time where you considered giving up and just being like, you know what, it's fine to stay where I am? Was there ever a moment that crossed your mind?
I actually stay in that place for a while. People sometimes approach me and say, wow, Pri, how can you do this so fast? How can you lose that many weight? How can you just move like this and then be in this place right now? Guys, it has been a while. It has been years. It was not overnight. And because it has been years, I was actually stuck for a while in that place. And yes, it was comfortable. And because I was not 100% sure of it, I did not move. I chose not to move. Because one thing I've learned also through my lifetime is that if you're not sure of something, don't move. And I was paralyzed for a while. I was completely paralyzed until I realized that what a waste of my time. And time is really of the essence. I think some people realize, but a lot of people do not realize that time, it's the most valuable thing that we have. And we can really not grasp time. Once it's gone, it's gone. And all we can do is to live the present and to plan for the future. But that's not a guarantee that things will turn out the way you expect. But if you're doing right by you, definitely it's a time well spent.
That's so powerful, because a lot of people have like the assumption that like there's these people who just like click and suddenly they're like a different person, like sitting on money. I don't know. But that's really almost like never the case. Sometimes there's years of work behind making anything happen.
Exactly.
So that's like a really powerful thing to know, because sometimes that's also pressuring as well. Like, look at that person, they're doing so well. Look at that person, they're doing so well, and they're all doing it so fast. I could never be like that. That's not true.
Exactly. Social media, the power of social media, it's like, social media is a liar,
Exactly.
And it's not a white
liars.
lie. It's really a big, fat liar. Why? Because everybody's looking through, to other people's life through the social media, right? And people do not post things that they're not proud of. And then you have all those, ways of making things look better, seem better. when it comes to me, for instance, people ask like, how much, oh my gosh, they see my bikini pictures today, and then they ask me, wow, you lost so much weight so fast. What miracle did you do? Guys, I did not do any miracle. It's been like 2 years in the process. You know, it was not overnight. I did the hard work, and I did it every day, and I was 100% invested. In my case especially, you know, the nature of my work demands that I look in a certain way. So if I don't look in a certain way, I'm not going to be able to work. If I don't work, I cannot make money. If I cannot make money, I cannot afford my lifestyle, you know? So it's really like the need and the demand and the choices that you make. And then people have the tendency of somehow making like this fairy tale about other people's life and always say, oh, but I cannot do this. Oh no, I wouldn't be able to. Oh my gosh, they did so fast. They did like this, they did like that. That's not true. That's a big fat lie. You can do it. You are capable of doing at your own pace, at your own capability. You just need to believe and just go for it. For me, perhaps I lost like 40 pounds in 5 to 6 months. For you, it doesn't need to be in 5 to 6 months. But if you want, you can lose that many pounds. I lost some people because I wanted to in a 2 years time. For you, you can do the same. You know, it's all a matter of how much are you willing to sacrifice, in the sense that allowing yourself to be a little uncomfortable to make changes that are worth to happen in your life.
Well, on that topic, you know, not only is the journey sometimes fabricated by things like social media or just by other people's perception of other people, a lot of the process is hidden behind closed doors. So I just wanted to ask you a little bit more about that. So for you, like, what do you think is something that no one tells you about starting over, about changing yourself? What's something that's like a really common misconception or just people blatantly don't know about?
That's a great question. What I think, perhaps how painful it is. It's not painless or pain-free. And the pain might never leave you, because whenever you go back to that place where you felt it, you're always going to feel a little bit. As you go along the years, maybe it's less and less, but there is always a resemblance of how it felt at the moment that you make that decision. You know, there is that huge misconception that because you're strong, you don't cry. Oh my gosh. Put myself to sleep in tears. I dehydrated. Part of, you know, losing so much weight is a lot of tears. You know, all the water that I lost. Being strong does not mean that you're strong all the time. It's okay to crumble. It's also okay to ask for help. Sometimes there is a misconception that people say, no, I need to be strong, so I'm never gonna ask for help. I'll do on my own. You don't need to do on your own. You know, we people, no man is an island. So if you have someone that you can cling on to help you to go through the process, why not? Why you make your life even harder without, just because of pride? Because you have so much pride that you cannot ask for help. So, you know, going through those difficult moments in your life, you know, those are lies that I found myself discovering in a daily basis. It's painful, and it's meant to be like that. If it's not painful, it's not worth it. That's how I feel, like in transformation, right? It's ugly because you're gonna cry like hell.
Maybe don't post the healing process on Instagram. You're not gonna get that many likes.
Not very Instagrammable.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's ugly. You know, a lot of cry, a lot of blame yourself, and it's a process. And and it's very hard and can be lonely also. I think in the end of the day, those things are not very discussed. And when you see the end of the equation already, you just see the final product. You have no idea what it took for that person to get from point A to point B. And then that's why you think that you cannot do it. Because if you had watched the process, the whole process, you know very well that you are also capable. But it will make you uncomfortable. It will be painful, but it will be worth it.
Yes, that's so true. You know, there's so many layers to healing, and all of it, it's like, it can be really difficult. I think something that like a lot of people struggle with, including myself, I'm gonna like shoot myself in the shoulder a little bit, is being vulnerable with other people.
Yes.
Because sometimes, you know, especially if you're hurting or in pain, the line between someone who you can and cannot trust with your deepest emotion blurs a little bit.
Yes.
You're like, so you might look at someone who isn't trustworthy and be like, oh, I'm sure they will understand. Or maybe you'll look at someone who is trustworthy and you're gonna think, no, they don't want to hear about what I have to say. Things like that. But fighting alone is so much more difficult than fighting with other people. So if there's someone that you know is going to be there for you, like, just know that you do have a shoulder to lean on.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like a really important thing to understand.
Vulnerability is a superpower. And it's okay to ask for help. And perhaps you may ask for help from the wrong people, but eventually you're going to find the right people. You're going to find your tribe. But you just know if you try. But of course, we need to be smart, right? We need to be smart and just make sure that whenever you're exposed to yourself or open yourself to someone, you don't need to completely open. You know, you can do like by stages until you find that person or that people that, you know, the people that you can actually truly trust and you help you in the process, that they want to help you and not to tear you down. Because some people can also camouflage into cheerleaders, but they're actually not.
That's like really the important part, like understanding not only how to go about it, but who to go about it with.
Exactly.
When you were going through the whole process, of course, gain from the experience, but was there anything that you lost as well?
If I can say something that I gained from the experience, really, I gave myself back. You know, I gained Priscilla, the way I knew her to be. And some people that went through, you know, that were part of that journey may say that I became someone else. No, I did not. But I believe that I became a better version that I already was. It was like, it was like a refinement of things I went through. It helped me to realize that it was okay to be pruned. And so that I could become who I am today. I also gained a lot of sexy photos back. Okay, because then from the process of letting go of the things that did not serve me, I let go a lot of pounds and a lot of big clothes. And now I'm very proud, you know, to wear what I like, to be able to put a 2-piece bikini and go to a holiday and flaunt my, to flaunt my curves and to make amazing pictures. And I'm proud to post the pictures. So, I gained that as well. And I think I gained a lot of wisdom and somehow even empathy to people that perhaps before going through this situation I couldn't really relate to, and then now I see myself being more patient and more understanding, and even of help to people that in the past people I be a little bit upset. Like, why did you allow them to do this to you? Why did you allow this to happen? Because I became that person. I allow people to do things to me. I allow things to happen. So it somehow humanized me and it humbled me. So now, you asked what did I gain, right?
Well, yeah, what did you gain? And also, like, was there anything you lost from the experiences?
Honestly, I don't think I lost anything, because even the bad things I went through, they turn out to help me to get to a better place.
That's wonderful.
So I think anything in life that you go through, and I always say that, and I've said that in my past interviews, there is no regret. I regret nothing, because if I haven't gone through those things, those pains, those experiences, those people, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I do want to believe that today I'm wiser, I'm smarter, and perhaps even a little funnier. I'm able to play with my pain and my, my troubles.
Dark humor.
Yeah, dark humor, but still humor. And so I really don't think I lost anything. I think I just gained.
That's wonderful, actually. It's really reassuring to know that no matter what you go through at the end of the day, it's really worth it. And I think that's so true. Like, if when you're going through healing, there typically isn't any regret in that.
Exactly.
Because you're a better person because of it. So why would you regret anything? Because even if you did just one little thing differently, maybe you would be a completely different person today. Exactly. That's why time machines are scary. But also, just want to mention, whenever something happens to me, I get excited, because then I listen to my music, and suddenly some of the songs I didn't understand before, I can understand now.
Exactly.
And it's like wonderful. I listen, I'm like, I understand you, Conan Gray. So you have no regrets.
No regrets.
I have been alive for a really, 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 really long time.
I know, right?
14 years. And so I got to see a lot of your journey. And it's been like really interesting for me. Of course, whenever you'd be in pain, I'd also get really sad, because like, obviously I wouldn't want to see my own mother in pain. If you like seeing your mother in pain, I'm a little concerned. It broke my heart when to see you sad, but it also made me happy to see your victories. So I'm just wondering, like, did you ever wonder how, like, it would affect me, or anyone else in your life?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's one of the things I was most scared of. Like, how would this affect the person that I love the most in my life, which is you? And and because of that, I was paralyzed for many years from a situation that I was not happy. But then because of that, I was able to move. I got my strength. I was able to collect myself and move, because I never wanted to normalize things that, you know, that were not right for you. Being a girl, becoming a teen, and eventually a woman, I did not want for you to think that it's okay to be in a place where you feel unworthy, that you feel, you know, betrayal, that you feel to be without being valued, and, you know, and just generally unhappy. It drove me to simply wanted to do better and to become a better person. And I wanted you to witness that transformation. Most of the times I try, I don't think, have I ever cried in front of you?
I think at like a concert. My memory is awful. So, but as far as I'm aware, especially when I was like younger, like maybe like 6 or 7 years old, I don't think you did. So, yeah.
So yeah, because I didn't want to affect you in that way. But I don't know that you see the difference between me being happy and not happy, right?
Yeah. It's actually surreal, because sometimes I'm like, you know how what's it called? Like the big square on like the Apple phones that has the photos in it. I would see old photos of you and I'm like, that's my mom. Because something really interesting about like the human like psychology and stuff is that you really look different.
Yeah.
Depending on how your mental state is.
Yes, that's so true.
Like, compared to now, your photos before, like, I can see it a little bit. You know, the hidden struggle. But now, you're, like, glowing. Like, sometimes you're like, the light!
Thank you.
So it's like,
different
that's
person.
her!
Yeah, I think as parents, we never want our kids to absorb our struggles, our sadness. We just want to be, you know, we want to see our kids happy and full of life. And I did try to camouflage or to hide a lot of the pains and the challenges I was going through, because I didn't want you to observe that. But one of the things that I realized and I learned from that experience is that kids don't need perfect parents. Kids don't need perfect homes or perfect concept of what a family is. What kids need is happy parents. And that's what makes the whole difference in upbringing of any kid. You know, growing up, I also did struggle because my mom, for most of the times that I was growing up, she was not necessarily happy. And maybe that's where, you know, when you feel not conscious about the things that you're familiar with, you end up in the same place, and a place that you didn't want to be. So I realized that maybe part of why I was drove to certain people and I allowed those people to misuse me or to disrespect me or to not love me the way I deserve to be loved is because growing up, it became a normancy. It became just like normal that it's okay to not be treated right and the woman is still gonna stick around. When I realized that, I did not want that to happen to you. So as your mom, and because I love you so much, I need to be the change so that you and your life are going to be different. And so yes, I did think of you. And because of you, you're my biggest motivation, inspiration to become better and a better version of myself. I decided to take a leap of faith. Yeah, I left everything behind and I start all new again.
Did you hear that, guys? She said that she loves me. Oh my god.
Very much.
Oh my god. Well, that's like really a big factor, because sometimes when you're changing yourself, sometimes you consciously think about people around you. Like, for example, I used to be like a doormat. That's like when I was like really young, like people used to like step all over me and stuff like that. And you know, when I decided I didn't want to be like that anymore, part of me was like, geez, will my friends still like me?
I know.
Like, people might not like me, but I think something I've learned is that the people who matter will stay with you no matter what. The people who matter most want to see you thrive, even if it means that you are a little bit harder to boss around, which is a good thing, actually.
Yeah.
Don't let people push you around. They should be able to stick with you no matter what. Mm-hmm. As long, again, you don't like do anything really bad.
Exactly.
In that case, maybe they should consider stepping back a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, because now I sometimes people are like, hey, Aneshka, this person doesn't like you. But then I look at the people I do have. I have amazing friends. I have an amazing mother. I have an amazing family. And I think, those are the people that I need, that will stay with me no matter what. And I think that should be the case with you too. You know, regardless of if you're in pain, if you're super happy, no matter who you are, where you are, when you are, I will always be your daughter and I will always love you. So, yay! We're clapping so that we don't cry.
Yes, thank you, my love.
I just want to see you thrive. Even if the process hurts, I want to see you be happy and live to your fullest potential. And especially because I live under a roof with you, if you're suffering naturally,
Yes.
I'm gonna suffer too. Because
Yes.
not only do I love you, but also I see you every day, multiple times a day.
Yes.
So I just want to always make sure that you're happy and that everything's going well for you.
That's what I'm gonna say and repeat again, that what matters to kids to have happy parents. Not perfect one, but happy parents.
Yeah, and back on again, society. Looking at you, society. You suck. They have like this very picture-perfect image of the way someone should live, especially like families and how it should be structured and how everything should look from a distance, from the window. But
Yes.
Sometimes a family can look super happy and like, wow, everything's wonderful. And that's not the case. So it's definitely much better to have a non-commercial, not, social media ready family
Exactly.
that's happy than to have a sort of quote-unquote normal family that's suffering.
Exactly.
That's really true.
Yeah, that's really true.
If there's anything from back then that you think I should understand as young as now, what would that be, you say?
I think as parents is that no matter what happened and what kind of turns life may take, the love that both of your parents have for you, it's never changing. I wanted you to know back then, and I wanted you to know now, that no matter what happened, no matter what kind of family or family structure we have or do not have, our love for you is unchangeable, is unconditional, that we just want to see you thrive and be happy, and we're here to support you. And me as your mother, I'm here to support you, to love you, to be your best friend. You can confide on me for anything, and there is no wrong that you can do, by my eyes. So that's what I want you to know of my conditional love. Then, back then, and now.
Thank you. That's really wonderful to know. So like if I committed arson, you wouldn't care?
No, not like that.
You'd be fine with that, right?
No, of course not. We need to have a conversation, but this is for another podcast. But another thing also that I want you to know, actually, is that happened, it's your fault. You've done no wrong. You're perfect. You're beautiful. You're so full of life, and that's how it should be. And anything and everything that happened or not happened is not because of you, because you cannot be, the reason or use as an excuse for things to not work or for things to work. So relationships, they can fall apart, and people, they outgrow each other. But being a parent and being a mom never changes. So it's not your fault, and I take full responsibility for whatever happened and for whatever will happen from this day forwards. That's also what I want you to know.
Thank you. It's really wonderful. And it's like all parents out there, it's all children out there as well. To everyone, actually. I don't know why I said that separately. Everything that anyone does is fully their responsibility. So whenever you look at someone, you think, did I do something? That's like not the case, I feel like sometimes when children, especially younger ones, like younger than me, let's say, because I've seen things, and so I'd understand a lot more than someone who's, say, like 5 would understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd hope so. I'd hope a 14-year-old would know more than a 5-year-old.
Yes.
But, they're a lot more vulnerable, especially when it's adults. Adults can have a lot of control over a child, even if it's not their child.
Yeah.
A young child would obviously be, like, intimidated. So some adults who are, like, aren't as kind as like my mom may use that to their advantage, but that's really wrong, because at the end of the day, that can like really scar a child.
Yeah.
To feel like they're responsible for bad things that happen, or a response for someone else's actions, when it really isn't the case. So for you to be able to teach me, and for a parent to teach their child that that's not the case, is a really powerful thing, in my opinion. Super awesome.
Yes, my love. I'm so glad that you understand that.
Thank you. Now let's get into the real business, diving even deeper than we've gone so far. So looking back, which we've been doing a lot of in this podcast, but like really getting into it, is there anything that you'd say you do differently?
Sometimes I wonder if I had walked out early, if wouldn't it be better? But then it brings back to the headspace that I was when I decided to stay longer. Perhaps I would feel that it was my fault because I didn't try harder. And perhaps you wouldn't be ready for the change to come. When I think of those two variations, like variants of the situation, I can confidently say that no, I wouldn't do anything differently or anything better. I think that in the end of the day, we all make choices. There is no right and wrong choice. There's just the choices that you make, and you need to learn how to live with the consequences of those choices that you make. So I don't think I would do anything differently.
That's good to know, because, having regrets kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does suck.
It does suck. Like, whenever I say something embarrassing to someone, especially someone like I really like, I'm like, and like, so, I would know, and I think everyone would know. If you're watching this, most likely regrets suck. Even if they're small regrets, big regrets, huge regrets, like, it doesn't matter, it sucks. And being able to look back and saying, you know what, I don't regret anything, is really powerful, and it's really like, it feels great, because that's how you've made the right decisions. And I think you mentioned a little while ago that if you did anything differently, you, me, or someone else, or an entire situation might be completely different.
Yes.
And I think that's really a part of it, because, again, if you walked out sooner, there's no guarantee that you'd be the same person you are today.
Exactly.
And there's no guarantee I would have been the same person I was today. There's no guarantee we would have even been having this episode or this podcast. Of course, that happening would have made an entirely different chain of events.
Yes.
That we will never know of because it didn't happen.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's really difficult to say, like, oh, I really wish I could have changed this, because you don't know. Maybe it would have been a worse outcome.
Exactly.
It could have been a better outcome, but it could have been a worse outcome.
But we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Exactly.
That's just a theory. A game theory. Okay. She doesn't understand that reference, but come on, young people. Sorry. What would you say, you've healed from this big shift in your life? As long as you're alive, the challenge never stops. When something ends, another thing begins. And when doors close, gates open. So, is there anything that you think you're still healing from today?
Perhaps, yes. I think I'm still healing from somehow blaming myself a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, because, I can say a lot of things and I can come out with a whole sentence, actually a whole paragraph of how empowered I am and I made everything right and it was the right timing. But I think in the end of the day, just being human beings, we always naturally blame ourselves, even for, especially for the worst outcomes that you can possibly imagine. So sometimes I still catch myself wondering, what part of me is the most guilty for allowing those things to happen to me? And that's when I need to practice kindness to myself, because I'm very good in being kind to others, but I'm so critical when it comes to myself, and I think there is still a huge part of me healing from that constant criticism of, you could have done better, Pri. You could have made better choices, Pri. You could have, be smarter. You could have avoided certain things. When fact is, we don't know the outcome of anything. And I know that very vividly in my mind, but sometimes I still catch myself in my not so high days, blaming myself for the things that happen, wondering if it would have been less painful or different, and how we said early, what kind of outcome would come. But I do not regret. It's just that I really need to completely 100% forgive myself for the things that I allowed to happen to me, because that's my power. I always say that in order for you to fulfill your destiny, in order for you to become what you're meant to be, you need to take your power back. So I never want to go back. And I get scared because I never want to go back to that place where I gave my power to someone. So I'm still in the process of healing from those things. But I will get there.
Yeah, of course. Like eventually.
Eventually.
Because, it's really a process. And even when you're
Yes.
out of the situation already, pain comes with you.
Yes,
Usually.
exactly.
Even if you're like, I don't know, 5 years out, so you might still feel that little sting in your chest.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, normal.
Yeah,
It's normal to feel that way, even if you've done nothing wrong.
exactly.
Sometimes just what could have been lingers in the mind a little too much. But I think that's something that we need to denormalize.
Yes.
Is that, let's say, victim of a scenario is like usually never in the wrong. Like if something happens to you and you're like, I could have done this differently, could have done that differently, it's all my fault. I think you should just take a step back and be a little bit nicer to yourself, because usually that's not the case. There's sometimes people hurt you, sometimes the reality just like throws you overboard, sometimes things just really hit the fan, and we have the tendency blaming ourselves because sometimes that's the only thing we think we can logically point to. But taking a step back and realizing that you were hurt and you shouldn't be beating yourself up about it, that's hard sometimes. If we all came to realize that though, and started empathizing with ourselves, with each other, a little bit more, well, the world would definitely be a much kinder place to live in.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that just being a little bit kinder to yourself and understanding yourself is a really, really big step, because at the end of the day, the main thing that you have, you will lose people, you will lose money, unfortunately. You will lose some environment sometimes and have to throw yourself in somewhere completely different. At the end of the day, you're always going to have yourself, even if you change your name, change your hair.
Yes.
You're still going to be you. And if you don't like yourself, that's just going to make life all the more difficult. You will never, ever be able to get rid of yourself.
Yes. That's so
So
true.
learning to embrace who you are, the good and the bad, and slightly questionable, a wonderful first step that I feel like everyone should take if they're struggling somewhere right now.
I agree 200% of it. Are we related?
I mean, maybe. I don't
Not
see
so
it that
sure.
much,
Yeah,
but
that's
there's a
the-
chance.
There's a chance. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So now, with all that out of the way, non-existent regrets, current healing, let's ask the big question. Are you proud of who you are right now?
Yes, I'm very proud of who I am right now, and even more prouder of who I'm becoming in the future, because now I know by experience and by feeling how it's supposed to feel like. I kind of believe that I built a system around myself what allows me to completely and fully flourish. I'm just so proud of it, because that's not easy. But for that to happen, it took a lot of difficult situations. It took me getting out of a comfortable situation and put myself in an uncomfortable situation to do the transition. Doing that was not freaking easy. Look at myself now in the mirror, knowing that yes, I'm not perfect. Yes, there is a lot of improvement that still needs to happen, emotionally, mentally, physically. I know that I'm towards being a bit better tomorrow than I was today. So I'm freaking proud of myself. I just can't fathom what are the things that I can be even more proud of in the future. So I'm just living, life one day at a time and really having a blast, because guys, life is really precious. And if you out there thinking that sometimes, which also crossed my mind many times, sometimes it's better just to sleep and to not wake up, or perhaps if you're gone, the pain's gone, I'm telling you, life is worth fighting for. There is nothing more wonderful than living your life one day at a time and allowing yourself to experience everything that you should be experiencing. The beauty of life is that you don't know what the tomorrow brings. And that excites me. So yeah, girl, I'm proud of myself.
And the crowd goes wild! Confetti everywhere!
What about you? Are you proud of me?
Very, as I mentioned before, seeing your transformation is not only kind of shocking, jeez, the change. It's also, it makes me so happy, because seeing someone, one of the people I care about the most in my life, flourishing and be able to feel her best just makes me feel really warm inside, because you deserve that. You deserve to be able to live your life farther than the fullest and being happy. Yeah, I'm running out of my words. I quit.
It's not easy to be there, right?
No. Even more so when your mom is on the other side getting all emotional.
Yeah. But you know, I'm very proud of you also. I want to thank you, my love, for, you know, for riding along, for being this journey with me, and for being an inspiration to me. I lack words to say how much I love you and how much you inspire me to be better every day.
Just said don't make me emotional.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the existence of your life in my life. And because of you, I regret nothing. Because if I had made any different choice, you know, it wouldn't be this beautiful outcome. And, you know, you are worth every single mistake and every single victory that came along. Do you know what I'm very proud also?
What?
I'm very proud of our amigas for sticking around and for allowing us, you know, in this journey. Thank you so very much for always being with us. Because amigas, if there is one thing that I learned, is that starting over does not mean that you fail. It means that you're brave enough to choose yourself even when you're uncomfortable, even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else.
And if you're in the space right now, confused, hurting, figuring things out as you go, just know you're not behind. You're just becoming.
Life not always moves the way you plan it. Sometimes it breaks you a little, but sometimes it's exactly how you rebuild into someone stronger, wiser, and more aligned with who you meant to be.
Maybe one day, you'll look back and realize the thing that felt like the end was actually just the beginning.
So take your time, be gentle with yourself. You don't have to have all the answers right now. You just have to keep going. You'll be here with you, amigas, always. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing this space to be a safe space where we can talk about anything that we feel like and that we can confide in each other and to share with each other. I would say a big thanks, of course, to our favorite hangout spot, Kenneth Cobonpue BGC Showroom, for being the home of Amigas Podcast this season 2. And I see you next Saturday at 7 p.m. sharp here at our YouTube channel. So see you guys. God bless you. And I love you, ladies. Bye-bye, amigas. Till next episode. Bye.
Bye.